Well. Hello and fancy meeting you here. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show getting underway for another day. Thank you for being with us. Just past high noon. May I be the first to say a good afternoon to you and yours. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're able to spend a little time with us today. We've got 3 full hours, 180 minutes of what I hope to be talk radio excellence on this Wednesday, December 6th, 2023. We talk about fascinating things during the transition. Whether it's between, I don't know if Dan Mandis and Chris Hand do this during their transition. Brian Wilson and I, we talk on air. We don't have an ability to talk off air because he's in beautiful Watertown. But Hand and I talk about fascinating things. I won't bore you with what the conversation was. I'll just tell you where it ended. It ended with me describing my grandpa's solution to ants, which was gasoline in abundance. My grandfather created a Superfund site on Earl Street in Thompson, Georgia back in the 1980s. Anyway, with that said, hope you have a great afternoon. Hope you're having a great afternoon. Hope everything's going well so far on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We've got lots to do. We've got lots of ways for you to listen and watch the show, and allow me to inundate you with those ways as we begin episode number 469 of these proceedings today. You may listen, obviously, on the radio, 99.7 FM. You also may listen on any streaming platform of your choosing. All you've got to do is go to like Spotify or iHeart or TuneIn or wherever you go to download stuff, and you type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN. You find us right there. You click on the link and you go. Now, we invite you to go and download our app. You can do that pretty simply going to the App Store and typing in Supertalk 99.7 WTN. And you can listen that way. Take us wherever you go. Put the earbuds in, and off you go. You can also watch the proceedings on Supertalk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, available to you. Just dial us up and watch away. F&M Bank chat line there, available for those wishing to interject amongst the trolls. There are a lot of trolls. It's an unmonitored chat. There are a lot of trolls on the chat. And I think what happens is the F&M Bank chat line feeds from the various platforms. So if you chat on YouTube, it goes there. If you chat on, Twitter, Twitch, or whatever, Facebook, it floats over to the F&M Bank chat line, so you can see it there. A lot of trolls there, and it's unmonitored, so beware. We do not endorse any of the commentary on the chat line, although much of it I do endorse, but I can't speak for all of it. So there's that. Supertalk TV, episode 469. Bell K, Headless Bell we call him, he does not participate on television except to title the episodes. And he has done so today. And today's episode is entitled, Bell?
Matt Murphy. He will ride your bike and you will thank him. Libertarian lunch, noon to 3. There were tacos in the kitchen.
Were there tacos in the kitchen?
There were. We're past tense.
You didn't help a brother out?
They were gone by the time I found out they were in there.
You and I have an interesting relationship, host and producer relationship, because we both know you probably have a better steely resolve regarding food around this radio station than I do. I've watched you pass it by. I have a more difficult time of doing so, which is why I have to keep the food away from me in order to lose any amount of weight. Normally, I would be legit upset that my producer didn't have my back, because typically in that relationship, if I'm here and I think, ooh, Bell would like one of these, I hold a couple of them back because you know what's going to happen.
No, that is true. You do that. You've done that more than once.
Yeah, you do. I do that for you. You do that for me. Yada yada yada. But because we both want to lose weight and continue to keep it off and maintain a good, healthy, we don't do that for each other. And I think that's going a step beyond. It's one thing to bring you the taco. It's another thing to not bring you the taco. That's true love. That's a true producer-host relationship. You know what I'm saying?
There's a
I'm just trying to justify in my mind why you didn't give me any tacos.
There's a big container in there with all these individual compartments.
Now you're going to tell me about the tacos.
And it's almost like a Dunkin' Donuts box, except each donut would be in its own slot, and all the slots are empty except for the paper that the tacos came in.
Did you see any of the tacos?
No, I did not.
You just saw the aftermath.
Yeah, it smelled good, though. There was still some residual barbecue scent going on.
Man, I stayed away from the food yesterday at Toy Field, except for the chicken fingers. I couldn't help myself. I had to sample some chicken fingers from O'Charlie's. They were really good.
Well, the good news is you got close to being able to have a GLPBJ.
Yes. What? I was testing it.
Don't lie. You're trying to steal it.
I almost got thrown in the hooskow, the pokey, the old gray lady, the joint, and other Gray Bar Hotel, and other names for jail or prison. So here's what happened. Toy Field was great yesterday. We had a wonderful time, spent, the better part of almost 3 hours out there visiting with listeners of Super Talk 99.7 WTN, listeners of the Cumulus Media family, and we thank you so, so much. I don't know why I continue to be amazed. I never want to lose my fascination. And I'm being serious. I got a funny story to tell you about the bike, but I never want to lose my fascination with the generosity of the people of this community, the generosity of the people of the Southeast broadly, and the people of the state of Tennessee more specifically. I am regularly fascinated with how generous folks are. And the recognition, I looked at it, and I've told this story in the past. I consider it quite a sign of emotional and life maturity when giving becomes a selfish act. And to me, giving is a selfish act because I get so much more in return. When you give earnestly and openly without consideration for what might be coming back, what comes back is an incredible and overwhelming feeling of goodness in your heart. And you should feel that. And that's a selfish act in as much as it feels good to give and to help those who are in need, who are genuinely in need. And this time of year, obviously, it's special for a reason because it only comes around once a year. See my frustration with the term Friday Eve. And it's also a time of reflection. You reflect on the good things that have happened in your life. You reflect on the goodness that you have in your life currently with family and whatnot, or with friends, loved ones. I mean, even if those loved ones are far away, I got loved ones in Alabama. I got loved ones over in Georgia. You think about all of that during the Christmas holiday season, and then naturally at least my brain turns to those that do not have. And I can't imagine being alone, especially during the holidays. I can't imagine being a parent and not having the ability to fully fulfill the childish desires of your sons or your daughters. And I say childish desires because they're children. And so the Salvation Army comes up and they so fulfill that need. We are so proud to be just a little bitty part of it. The Forgotten Angel program, not only for kids, but also for the elderly. And it was a point that I know Brian and I talked about quite a bit yesterday afternoon, and it's pretty special that at some point down the line, someone far smarter than me realized that while the children should be a focus during the holiday season, the holidays are a time, as I mentioned, of remembering and reflection. And if you're someone older and you do not have family around, or perhaps you do not have family at all, it can be a very lonely and depressing season. And to give someone the ability to open presents on Christmas morning for slippers or a robe or a throw so that they can stay warm, maybe they're in assisted living, maybe they're whatever their circumstance, giving them a little something to be happy about during the holiday season. And a warm smile and even a hug can go a long way as well. So it warms my heart, my cold, black, icky heart, when I get to go out to Toy Field. I did it last year, loved it, have done it over the years with a variety of different radio stations and organizations, and it never gets old. The amount of toys given by the Super Talk listening audience and the listening audience of our Cumulus Media brothers and sisters was outstanding. I was talking to Rich, our promotions director, and he said there was a huge donation that was delivered last year. It was literally a truck full, like a panel truck full of toys that was delivered last year. And he said because of that, we probably did not overcome last year's amount, but the amount of giving was just incredible. And I thank all of you for whatever you're able to give, whether, it's just a small thing, whatever your price point was, it is invaluable to me. It is worth $1 million to me because you give as your heart and your wallet allows. And for that, we thank you.
I think that's incredibly kind of you to say. And I would like to ask that maybe next year you don't embarrass the station by almost getting arrested.
Okay, so I was having a tender moment, and you bring this up. I can't believe it. I cannot believe.
I'm just saying, it could have gone untarnished except for the certain actions of a certain host.
And I don't think I was. Wait, what did you say? I almost got arrested?
Yeah.
Define almost. Because I don't know that it was as close.
The cuffs and the billy club were out.
I don't know. No, their hands were moving toward objects, but I don't know that they ever pulled them. I don't think I was in danger. Don't tase me, bro. So here's what happened. If you go online, and I couldn't figure out how to, how you can save photos from Twitter. I couldn't figure out how to save. I didn't post the video originally, so I couldn't figure out how to post or save the video so I could get it over to Facebook. So if you're just looking at my social medias on Facebook, you have not seen this video. Go to @MattMurphyShow on Twitter if you're on Twitter /X, @MattMurphyShow, and you'll find it in my feed. It's also on the Supertalk 99.7 WTN Twitter page, where there's a short, 8 or 9 second video of the aftermath of me, quote unquote, stealing a bike. So here's what happened. We're there. We're enjoying ourselves. We're arranging the toys. We're having a good time with our brother and sister stations, our country stations, Q and the Zone. Those guys were there. The 3HL guys in the afternoon were out there, and everybody's having a good time. Folks are coming up. They're dropping off toys, getting something to eat, getting some hot chocolate, maybe a cookie. It was a little bit nippy out there, getting under the heaters. Everybody's having a good time. So there is a rule in Nissan Stadium that you have to go through security, and so there were security personnel outside of the toy field area, and you had to walk through just one of those basic little, you don't have to get wanded or whatever, but it's one of those things that it'll go off if you got a gun or something. So there's security there. So the folks that were bringing their toys in on their own had to go through that area and then eventually get their toys to the big toy field, and I'm sure you've seen the photos. So one of the security ladies, and I want to say her name is Cheryl. We met afterwards. We took a picture. We made up. Cheryl, I think she said her name was. She brings, I'm arranging some things, and she brings a bike. Now, most of the bikes that we had were small kids' bikes, like, little bitty kids' bikes with training wheels. Well, this was an adult-sized bike. It wasn't a 10-speed, but it was, one of those with the basket on the front. It did not have a little ching, 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 ching. It should have. That's the only thing that it was missing. It's fine bike. White wall tires on this bike. And so she brings it over. Look. Someone donated a bike. And I was like, that bike looks like it needs to be tested. And she looked at me funny, and I just got on the bike and left. And let me tell you something. If you've ever been to Nissan Stadium, you've probably not been to Nissan Stadium when there's no one there. If you ever have the opportunity to ride a bike at top speed down the concourse of Nissan Stadium, I strongly encourage you to do it. It's a hell of a lot of fun. Absolutely worth the aftermath of the event, which I'm about to describe. A lot of fun. Because it is you don't think about it, but it is a wide open space, and it is flat concrete, and you've got pillars that you can go zoom, 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 in and out, and I was having a good time. So I zoomed down one way, and I zoomed back the other way. I'm testing the bike. We're all grown-ups here, or some of us. So there's several folks that are videoing me zooming by. I think I did it 3 times. And then I noticed the security personnel had gathered let me just say, Bell, in an aggressive manner. They had gathered. You could tell that their stance was not one of Christmas cheer and fun and frivolity, it had become a little more aggressive. And that is the moment where the woman waved me over and gave me and you can see this on the video. Go to @MattMurphyShow on Twitter. She gave me the "what the hell are you doing" shrug. That's what it was. It was like, what the hell are you doing? And so I drive over, and I think she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm testing the bike. I'm having it's okay. It's all right." Well, what I didn't know while I was zooming around on the bike, the guy that donated the bike had actually donated 2 bikes. Both of them, adult-sized bikes or older bikes. And he wanted to take we had this beautiful sign that said Toy Field on it. He wanted to take a photo of himself with the bikes in front of the sign.
And you had absconded with one.
And I had taken one of the bikes. And so this guy who doesn't know me from Adam's House Cat, I think he's trying to play it off because he shows up and he doesn't know who I am. All he knows is I took the bike and started riding it, a bike that was supposed to go. And I'm not damaging the bike. Let's not get insane about this. Some people, you got to wash. Come on, let's be clear. The bike's fine. The bike's going to be wonderful under the tree. But he's like, I was donating that. And the woman, I think, the security lady, Cheryl, was a little concerned because I think the guy was confused and annoyed.
Did she know you worked for the station?
I don't think she did.
Oh, okay. Well,
she learned later.
Yeah.
She learned afterwards. So the guy was like, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm Matt Murphy. I work for Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I was just having a little fun. Just enjoying the holidays. Just, I'm not damaging anything."
After you told him who you were, did he recognize you then?
No, I mean, I could tell that it was one of those things where this guy, I don't know that he had a sense of humor about it, but he wasn't going to be that guy. So I could tell in the back of his head he was kind of ticked, but he wasn't going to. He understood that it was all in good fun, but I don't think he's a guy that he's a. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say too much because he might be listening right now. I don't want to suggest that I understood what was going on in his head. I could just see in his eyes that he was not very happy with me.
Matt Murphy making friends and influencing people all over the place.
I'm just having a good time. I'm just trying to test the bike. I don't. It was all in fun. It's all in fun, and I almost got arrested. But I made up later on. I went out and introduced myself to Cheryl, the security lady. And she was okay. She was all good with it. She said, "I just didn't want the guy to be upset. I didn't want him to think that we had people here that." So, and I was amused because I'm like, did he think I was just taking the bike? Like I was going to keep the bike? And she said, "I don't know. Maybe. I don't know." I was like, I'm not abusing the thing. So anyway, I had a good time. So I stole a bike and got caught. And did not get arrested. Talked my way out of it. I have that. I have a way with the ladies. That's what they tell me. I have a way with commercial breaks, too. It's 12:23 on Super Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, McGill's world-famous Glock store is open and available for the holiday season. What a great gift-buying opportunity you have at McGill's world-famous Glock store. Let's, come on, folks. Let's talk about this. So you've got a guy in your life, ladies. I'm going to talk to the ladies, but it could be fellas for your dad or for your brother or, whatever, a good friend of yours. If you don't know what to get the guy in your life for the holidays, and I don't want to exclude ladies because this might be sexist. If you want something for the lady in your life, because they've got plenty of female accessories and clothing specific to the woman in your life. They've got it at the world-famous Glock store. Their Nashville location has 4 separate Shoot 270 shooting rooms. The largest is over 40 yards long. Rooms are certified to accommodate rounds up to 308. The Shoot 270 rooms, get more on that at shoot270.com. So you could schedule a holiday training session at the world-famous clock store, or I strongly encourage you to go over to the retail side of things and find those incredible accessories. They've got stocking stuffers, whether those stocking stuffers are in the form of a gun or the stocking stuffers are in the form of accessories or clothing or other items. I've mentioned plenty of times the world-famous concealed carry underpants that they carry at McGill's Glock store. Go by and see Glock store today. They're on Airlane Drive just off of Elm Hill Pike. Tell them that Matt Murphy sent you. Book your firearm training session today and pick up some things for the holidays. It's the world famous Glock store, found online at glockstore.com. USS stands for United Structural Systems, and I want to talk to you about it for just a moment, because if you have problems or have noticed problems in your home, those problems are not going to go away, and odds are they're going to get worse. If it's a foundation issue, you need to call USS Jiffy Quick. Schedule something today. They could probably get out before the holidays, but if not, they'll get you scheduled ASAP to make sure that your foundation is A-OK. So if you have waterproofing issues, you've probably noticed musty smells, maybe in the basement or the crawl space. If you've smelled that smell, that is a sign that water is getting in some form or fashion. Moisture is getting in some form or fashion. And if that's the case, water doesn't stop. Moisture doesn't stop. It is tenacious, and it will create a foundation issue, and now you have a double issue. USS can blanch this before it becomes a serious, serious problem. They can save you a tremendous amount of money on the back end by calling them on the front end. They are foundation repair and waterproofing specialists in Middle Tennessee, serving Southern Kentucky and Northern Alabama as well. Since 1994, almost 30 years now, they've served more than 25,000 satisfied customers just like you. You could be next. Give them a call at USS. Online, USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com. Or the telephone number, 615-488-7855. 488-7855. They guarantee their best at USS. So the same mainstream media that told us in 2016 that Donald Trump, should he become president, I just want to chart this slowly, though, because I find it fascinatingly amusing. And you know what? You have to laugh at this nonsense to keep from crying. If some of my never Trumper friends want to know how in the world that there are those of us in the world that can continue to support Donald Trump. There are a lot of reasons, but embedded in the reasoning behind our support of Donald Trump, at least for me, is an understanding of how he has driven the political left and the mainstream media that should not have picked sides ever in the exercise of their duties as journalists, but have. He drives them absolutely bonkers because the media was of the belief before Trump came along. And I want to be clear on this, and I think it's a very important point to make. It's a very important point to remember. And even Fox News, and Fox News nowadays, I don't watch a lot of Fox News, but they're hit or miss. They're kind of the best thing going. I mean, outside of News Nation. News Nation's all right. It's hit or miss too. I mean, there's some other organizations out there that I would believe in. I get most of my information from a variety of sources on the internet. And I don't watch a lot of Fox News, but even Fox News, but certainly the alphabet soups, ABC, CBS, NBC, hashtag never CNN. I call them hashtag never CNN because they are a garbage network full of garbage people. Do not watch the garbage. I will, so you don't have to. I will, so you don't have to. They were of the belief, and it has been exposed that they were of this belief, that at any point that they wanted to destroy a politician, they could destroy a politician. And they've done it. And I can name political figure after political figure. The mainstream media, the national news media in the United States of America was of the belief that they could press their thumb on the scales and they could tilt an election to their liking. Sometimes they missed, but oftentimes when they missed, it wasn't by much. They could save as well as destroy. The mainstream media saved Bill Clinton. Saved Bill Clinton in 1998. And they were of the belief that when it was time to destroy Donald Trump, they could destroy Donald Trump. But they couldn't. I'll give you the arc, the timeline in just a moment, tell you the latest misunderstanding on the part of the mainstream media. It is 12:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief has saved so many people of a lot of pain and torment over the holiday season and beyond. And it's time, if you've not made the call, that you make the call to the Dr. Gill Center. Are you living in pain? I understand how it is because, I have lower back issues that flare up from time to time, and I know that I can alleviate those by getting some spinal decompression from the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. But I also had upper back issues, or neck issues, if you will. And I thought I would live with those for the rest of my life, and I don't have them anymore. Thank you to Dr. Wendy and the rest of the gang at the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. I went in, had spinal decompression on my upper neck area, on the upper part of the spine, and it alleviated that pain. It opened it up. Now I've got blood flow going. I got oxygen. I got all the things that I need to allow my body to repair itself, heal itself, and to live a pain-free life. Don't live through pain if you don't have to. Take the time to make the call, schedule an appointment with the Dr. Gill Center. Mention me, mention Pain Relief. You get a special discount in that initial consultation. And when you go, you'll begin a process of pain relief that works. It simply works without the need to pop pills on a daily basis, without the need to take needles on a daily basis or a regular basis, and without the need for consideration of surgery. The Dr. Gill Center, here's the telephone number, 615-882-4838, 882-4838. Call today and tell them Matt Murphy sent you. It is 12:37. More on the Trump timeline and how they have broken the mainstream media, how he has broken the mainstream media, coming up in just a moment. My name is Matt Murphy. We're hosting a show until 3 o'clock today when we hand off to the drive. It's information-fueled and opinion-driven, live and local, every single Monday through Friday on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Many of you commenting on the incident from yesterday regarding the bicycle situation. Philip has offered his take on it. He has
priceless.
He's put together a screenshot of the news piece about it yesterday evening, and you can find that now on my Twitter feed. So go to @MattMurphyShow. Do yourself a favor. If you're not already following me, I'm a hoot @MattMurphyShow. You can also follow Bell K if you learn how to spell it. It's not even Bell. Is it Bell K?
Yeah.
Or BK?
No, it's Bell. B-E-L.
BELKAEH.
Correct. Look at you getting it the first time.
It's
Dan
a
Mandis. Dan Mandis couldn't have done that.
He responded to you.
He did.
Did you see it?
He talked to me.
Oh, did he?
And the three questions I said he wouldn't get right.
Yes, he didn't get them right, did he?
He didn't get them right.
From yesterday, Bell was questioning whether or not, because he and I were having a little impromptu how well do we know each other session, and Bell mentioned that Mandis would not. How long did you produce for Mandis?
Oh God, 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Does he remember that?
Probably not.
By the way, you can see all of us. Maybe not Bell K. Headless Bell normally doesn't make appearances at these sorts of things, but we would love to have him. Maybe if you call, you can cajole Bell during Libertarian Lunch to come on out tomorrow night. We will be at, let me get it right, Cedar Creek Marina from 4 until 8 is the official timing of all of this. I'll get out as soon as I leave here. I'm going there. I don't think it'll take me an hour to get there. But Dan Mandis of Nashville's Morning News will be there. Matt Murphy will be there. Chris Hand from 9 until noon will be there. And obviously Brian Wilson is going to swing by. Brian's going to start his show, I think, in Watertown and then transition over to Cedar Creek Marina later on in the evening. From 4 until 8, it is as simple as this. It is a holiday gathering to say hello to you, to thank you for being such incredible listeners of Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All you have to do is show up. You don't need a ticket. You don't need anything. Just show up. Scoreboard at Cedar Creek Marina is the location. You just Google it. I've been there a couple of times. It's a great facility, great location, right there on the obviously right there on the river. And we would love to see you. Scoreboard, Cedar Creek Marina, tomorrow, starting at 4 o'clock. I would call it our Christmas celebration. I think I'm going to, and Hand, during our transition, Chris Hand asked me to, I think he wanted to know if I had a trailer. I told him I do. I have access to a trailer. He said that he's bringing a tree. Have you heard about this?
No, I haven't heard anything.
Bringing a Christmas tree and needs, he said, it's of a size that he needs my truck and my trailer. So I'll be assisting him later on this evening and into tomorrow morning getting that tree ready to go. So I don't know. I don't know anything about it. He just asked me about a trailer. So there you go. So tomorrow night, 4 o'clock, Cedar Creek Marina, Scoreboard.
One other thing about my conversation with Mandis from Monday, he goes, did you call me neurotic on the air? I said, no, Dan, I called you neurotic and paranoid. And he goes, okay, well, I'm not mad because it's true, and then he proceeds to tell me that anytime we talk about him on the air, the next morning he gets the super texts start rolling in like people are tattling on us to the boss because we were talking about him.
I want to see this. Neurotic. What does it mean to be neurotic? Neuroticism is defined, not to be confused with eroticism, which you would never use in the same sentence with Dan Mandis. Neuroticism is defined as a propensity toward, tell me if this is just, you got a bell over there like a ding, ding. You got one of those? All right, thank you. All right, just ring that bell every time this sounds like Mandis to you, okay? Neuroticism is defined by a propensity toward anxiety. Thank you. Negativity and self-doubt. Ding dong. Mandis is the greatest boss in the world. And I'll say
actually,
that.
I don't think negativity's probably not. That's not fair. I don't think he's really a negative person.
Have you ever asked him how his show went?
Okay, well, in some aspects he can be negative, but as in general, and when he's negative, it's usually self-critical. It's not negative towards other people.
No, he doesn't lash out at others.
No.
He tends to lean on the positive toward other people. I'm saying, but in terms of self,
but he is extremely self-deprecating and self-critical.
Anyway, you can give him a big old Mandis-sized hug tomorrow night at Cedar Creek Marina, starting at 4:00 with Super Talk 99.7 WTN. John says Bell should go in my place tomorrow night. It's too long of a haul for me. John, where's Lawrenceburg? John, I need to come pick you up and bring you to one of these events. You are a stalwart, if I'm using that word correctly. I think I am. On the super text line, 615-737-9986, by the way, 615-737-WWTN, if you'd like to be a part of the show. You can do so by dialing us up or participating on the super text line. Absolutely love the participation on the super text line, and there's a lot of it that goes on, so much so that sometimes I get a little distracted, I get squirreled, but we'll get back on track here. So the same mainstream media that told us that Donald Trump would never, ever, 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 ever win an election, not even win an election, would never win a primary. Not even win a primary. The same folks that told us that Donald Trump would never win a caucus, you would never see him polling better than other Republicans. This is back in 2015. This same mainstream media. I just reflect on this, and I remember it clearly. I'm elephantine on these things. I remember. In 2015, we were told at the beginning of the year that Donald Trump was never running for president. Donald Trump is using this to elevate his entertainment platform, we were told. And then Donald Trump came down the escalator. And the media laughed it off and considered it a clown show and said, oh, yeah, that's all well and good. Donald Trump will be in and out within 2 months. There's no way he's making it to a debate stage. There's no way Donald Trump stays in this thing over 2 months. Ha, 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 ha. And he did. And he made it to a debate stage. Well, he's going to get the floor wiped with him. He will be destroyed on that debate stage. He will be dispatched of. The other, how many were there? Like 16 other Republican candidates in 2015. I remember this, folks. They laughed at him. They sloughed him off as a clown, as a buffoon. Meanwhile, he struck a chord with the American people. The themes that Donald Trump the themes that he chose to discuss on the campaign trail resonated with the American people. And he had an ability through social media platforms and other avenues, and because of his veritable name ID, he cut through the media clatter. He spoke in a way that the media could not compartmentalize. He spoke in a way that the media could not shift in terms of the narrative to their own liking or to their own purposes. He cut them out of the process and used them in the process for his own purposes. And so they laughed at him and they let him use them, and they had him on their programs, and they said, well, okay, sure, this is all well and good. He can blah, blah, blah on a debate stage, I suppose. He's an entertainer after all, but it's not like he's going to lead in the polls or anything. And then suddenly he was leading in the polls. And then they told us, well, it's not like he's actually going to win a primary or anything. And then he started winning primaries. Imagine that. Well, it's not like he's going to be, come on, guys. It's not as if he's going to be the candidate for the Republican Party. I mean, God. Oh, what, he won? What? Well, it's not as if he's going to beat Hillary Clinton. She's one of the most accomplished politicians on the face of the earth. She's one of the most esteemed statesmen, people in the United States of America. This was a former First Lady, a former United States Senator from New York, Murphy. This was the Secretary of State. There's no way he's beating her. And then he did. And their heads exploded. Their heads exploded. They hate Donald Trump. CNN, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, CBS, CNBC, The Washington Post, The New York Times, The Boston Herald. I could go on and on about the various media platforms on the internet. From now until 3 o'clock, I could list them. They hate him because he beats them, and he doesn't need them. Every other politician, regardless of their political affiliation, they believe need them, and it feeds their enormous, insatiable egos. Up until Donald Trump, and I'm just trying to help you understand what I believe is the genesis of this anger and this vitriol and the desire to up the rhetoric to an 11. They can't help themselves because nothing else has worked. Oh, we got the Billy Bush audio. This'll destroy him. Oh, we've got that. That'll destroy him. Oh, we've got this. This'll destroy him. Oh, we'll throw that at him. That'll destroy him. Call him a dictator. Call him a racist. Call him a sexist. Call him a xenophobe. And nothing works. Nothing works. And they hate him for it. And it galvanizes in their mind that he must be destroyed. And it is for no other reason. It has nothing to do with his politics. It has nothing to do with their belief that he's some sort of dictator. It has everything to do with their power, their control, and their egos. That's why they hate him. And frankly, it's a big reason why I love him. They hate the fact that they cannot use him to control you. One of the greatest memes in the modern era is one of Donald Trump sitting, black and white photo, looking at the camera. And the meme says, "They're not after me. They're after you. I'm just in the way." That's true, folks. That's not rhetoric. That's true. The political left and their minions, their sycophants in the mainstream media want to transform the United States of America. And they get assistance regularly from mealy-mouthed, squishy establishment Republicans. And so while a George W. Bush presidency might be a little bump in the road in terms of their ultimate desires, it is just that. It's a pothole easily fixed on the highway to socialism. And then a barricade came along in the name of Donald Trump. And so they call him a dictator. I'm going to read you an article to bolster what I'm saying. And I'm going to read it straight up. And it is the best comedy going. The article is from Salon.com. It is entitled, "Trump is hiding his fascism plans in plain sight." I will read this to you next. You'll get a kick out of it. I promise you will. 1252 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hang in. Hey, folks, a big time special in the month of December from Kraft Body Scan. It's Matt Murphy to tell you all about it. You know, your health is obviously the most important thing you got going. Without your health, you got nothing. And do you know what's going on inside of your body? I mean, do you? I mean, I didn't. And I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac. I admit that. I concern myself with things that I think might be going on within my body, but I don't know. And I didn't know until I contacted Kraft Body Scan. They have an incredible special happening right now because you need to be proactive, especially during December. Did you know, a little factoid for you, that more people die from heart attack during the month of December than any other time of the year? It's attributed to a number of factors to include stress or depression, eating, and drinking. What a better way to make sure that everything is as right as can be within your body by taking advantage of an incredible offer from Kraft Body Scan. That's a $149 body scan. That's a heart and lung scan for you and your significant other, your spouse and whatnot. All you have to do is contact Kraft Body Scan and schedule that appointment today. It's a positive step in heart health. It gives you peace of mind. Only takes about 5 minutes. You leave your clothes on. You don't have to get disrobed. You leave your clothes on. That's all good. The scans are typically valued at in excess of $1,000, and for you and a loved one, $149 introductory price. Take the initiative to remain healthy this holiday season by scheduling a scan from Kraft Body Scan. Go to craftbodyscan.com, spell it with a C, craftbodyscan.com, or give them a call today. 615-436-1000. 615-436-1000. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you. Someone on the super text line just used a line that has been in my repertoire for 25 years. By the way, it's Matt Murphy Show, winding down the hour. I'll get to Donald Trump's answer to Sean Hannity's question in a moment and tell you about this article. The line is, hey, Bell, you know the difference between kinky and erotic?
Yes.
Erotic, you use the feather. Kinky, you use the whole chicken. Bark, bark. Back in a moment. You hear that weather forecast could very well end as wet snow, higher elevations. And if you have a problem with your heater, who do you call? Do you know? I mean, it's a simple question. Now, you know who I'm going to recommend. That's Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. More on that in a moment, but a serious question. Your heater, I mean, conditioning the air in your home is a very important thing, either conditioning it cooler in the summertime or warmer in the wintertime. And if you don't have that ability, if your heater goes out, what do? Who do you call? Do you know? If you don't know, I strongly recommend Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. He's a good man with a good heart. He doesn't have the biggest HVAC business in town. I believe he has the best, however. An incredible amount of service with a big heart. He's going to do the right thing the first time. He's never going to tell you you need something you don't need. He's never going to try to upsell you on something that isn't important. He will explain everything to you in a fashion where you understand what's going on and you have the information available to you to make a decision about your heater. So what I would encourage you to do is go ahead and write this number down and maybe store it away, put it in that junk drawer or put it under a magnet on the fridge. And if it ever comes a time, and it will at some point down the road, you know who to call. Jeff Eddy, Efficient Heating and Cooling, HVAC, or efficienthvac.net, I should say, efficienthvac.net, or 615-784-4424. They are a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric, an Elite Pro partner with Rheem, and I encourage you to call them at Efficient Heating and Cooling. It is 1:06 and a good afternoon. Welcome back, Matt Murphy. And the Matt Murphy Show continues on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm pleased you've decided to join us. Whatever time you give us, we're thankful for it. Whether it's the full 3 hours or 5 or so minutes, it's episode 469 of our proceedings. We are 1 week away from the big anniversary. You know what? I just realized something. As I speak to you today. As I speak to you this moment, 1:06 on December 6, 2023.
What?
I just realized something. So I know that you don't get up early enough to listen to Dan Mandis in Nashville's Morning News. I kid, but probably not. So Dan has been loath. He has his interactions with young Mr. Hand. Chris Hand, 9 to noon, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And Chris has been referring to the soiree tomorrow night as a Christmas party. He said, no, it's a Christmas party. Let's call it a Christmas party. Let's make it a Christmas party. Let's act like it's a Christmas party. It's a Christmas party. And Dan refuses to do so. He's been loath to call it a Christmas party. I just realized something.
What?
We're celebrating our 2-year anniversary tomorrow night. That's what it is.
Is that tomorrow?
No, our anniversary is next week. But I think you see what I'm saying?
I thought you meant when we met at Waffle House.
Oh, maybe that's true. That might be the case. But I think it's a surprise for us, Bell, which I think it's important for you to be there as a result.
I don't think it is. I don't think Dan really does surprises.
I think it's a surprise.
He doesn't like them.
Second anniversary party for Bell, for Murphy, and for our show on Super Talk 99.7.
Pretty sure it's not.
I'm convinced it is.
I'm convinced it isn't.
No? Okay. We'll find out together tomorrow night. Well, maybe not so much together. When I say we will find out together, I mean you in your automobiles, homes, places of business, and me, Matt Murphy. Bell K will be over wherever the hell it is he lives in Madison or where. Is that Madison? Is that fair?
Yeah.
I know you don't like to know. I mean, that's a broad enough.
Yeah, it's not like you're giving my street address.
I mean, I actually do remember the street you live on, but I'm not going to do that to you.
Please don't.
No, I wouldn't do that. But yeah, you'll be over safe and sound. I'll come get you.
No, I don't. Dude, you do enough for me as it is. No, thank you. I appreciate it, though.
That's the way I was thinking about it, too. Only my tone was going to be slightly different. I do enough for you that you could show up for me. E can't go. So I don't have a lot of allies there.
Why can't she go?
She can't go.
Why?
She can't.
She doesn't want to?
I don't think so, no.
Don't blame her.
She gets, I need a platonic male date.
Well, there's Mandis.
Or whatever. I mean, you can identify however you want. as far as I'm concerned. 615-737-9986 is our telephone number if you'd like to be a part of the proceedings. I'm in a festive mood, I must admit, considering the Toy Field event that we had yesterday at Nissan Stadium. And once again, if you weren't listening during Libertarian Lunch, thank you so much. For those of you who made yourselves available, both in heart and in wallet, and gave to the Salvation Army's Forgotten Angels program and to the elderly that need something to open up on Christmas morning. We appreciate you. An incredible amount of toys. You can see a lot of that on our socials, Supertalk 99.7 WTN. You can go to mine. You can see me almost getting arrested for, quote unquote, stealing a bike. I was not stealing the bike. There was a big misunderstanding. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. In the meantime, Donald Trump, we were discussing him in the first hour of the show. Donald Trump is in the way of what I believe is a concerted effort to transform the United States of America, and I think the media is a part of it. Whether they know it or not, they're a part of it. I was watching during the top of the hour news break. I turned on monitor number 2, and I was watching monitor number 2. Last night, Donald Trump made an appearance on Sean Hannity. And there's been a lot of discussion about Donald Trump, the dictator, and what Donald Trump will do if he regains power, and how Donald Trump will go after his enemies if he's in power, and how Donald Trump will not relinquish power if he goes to the presidency. Now, they're talking about this as if he's not been president before. They're talking about this as if he was not, for reasons that have been much discussed on our radio show, reelected to the presidency. They're talking about this despite the fact that he left the White House and handed power over to his successor, sleepy, sloppy Joe Biden. Oh, he's a dictator. Oh, he will not relinquish power. And so last night he was on with Sean Hannity in an exclusive town hall, and Sean Hannity asked him the question. And here is how Donald Trump answered the question.
I want to go back to this one issue, though, because the media has been focused on this and attacking you. Under no circumstances. You are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
what?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border, and I want to drill.
That's
drill,
not. That's
drill.
That's not.
No, no.
That's not retribution.
I'm going to be, you know, he keeps, we love this guy. He says, you're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one. We're closing the border, and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator,
So that sounds to me like you're going back to the policies when you were president.
That's
all right,
exactly.
take a break. Just getting.
All right, so there's Sean Hannity and Donald Trump. So Hannity knows what the media is going to do with this, and so does Trump, which is what makes this exchange so delicious. Because today, Donald Trump said it in the midst of the answer, and I'll replay it for you. He said, "Oh, he's going crazy." Do you hear him say that? He's pointing at Hannity when he said that, because he knows Hannity knows what he's doing, and Hannity can't stop him from doing it.
You are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
what?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
He's going crazy, except for day one. He's going crazy. And Donald Trump obviously means he's going to reverse some of the executive orders initiated by Joe Biden, et cetera, in terms of southern border security and energy independence, the two central issues facing the United States of America today. The man has his finger on the pulse of the major issues of the day, border security and energy independence, so as to continue to remove us from foreign entanglements largely having to do with oil in other parts of the world. Energy independence is key in order to tackle Russia in the proper fashion. Becoming an energy exporter is key to make sure that we elevate our status in the world, or continue to elevate our status in the world as what I used to call the singular superpower in the world. Now there's China. Can't really say that anymore. The Russian influence in the world is growing because of their ability to export natural resources, Joe Biden's shutting all of that down. John Kerry, farting John Kerry. Did he really? By the way, I never, Belle, will you do me a favor? I know you will. You're so kind to me. Will you find, I saw this secondhand, will you find the audio in question? There is a suggestion that John Kerry was at a UN climate summit and he farted.
I'm not looking that up.
Yes, look it up. Come on.
Well, was he taking lessons from Swalwell?
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, let me see what I can do.
I don't know. I've just not heard it. I've seen it. I've seen comment on it. I've not actually heard the audio.
How long ago was this supposed to have been?
It was like 3 or 4 days ago.
Okay.
It's pretty recently.
I'll look for it.
There were a lot of memes of, these green, gassy-looking clouds around John Kerry's. I just was reminded of when John Kerry came out on the stage in 2004. George W. Bush, president of the United States, running for re-election. John Kerry running for president. And, there was a lie suggesting that George W. Bush did not do his duty with regard to National Guard service, Air National Guard service. Remember, this is what got Dan Rather fired ultimately, because Dan Rather regurgitated the lie, knowing that it was a lie, knowing that it was a setup, and they did it anyway. With all of that going on, John Kerry takes the stage to accept his party's nomination, and he, in his lurch-like fashion, I'm John Kerry reporting for duty. And all I could think of when I saw this new story about him apparently farting on stage at some point, that I hope he wasn't reporting for duty.
That is just terrible.
Thank you. I'll be here all the week. I'll be here till.
Dusty Slay has nothing to worry about.
We're having a good time. So Donald Trump gives them what they want. So he says, after day one, I won't be a dictator. After that, I'm not a dictator. Day one, I'm a dictator, blah, blah, blah. And I'm watching #NeverCNN because it's my commitment to you. I watch so you don't have to. While you're listening to the real news at the top of the hour, for what it's worth, Mac Maury will be along directly. While you're listening, waiting patiently, and listening to some of these important commercial advertisements for me to get back on air, I'm monitoring the top of the hour at CNN. And I look and I notice that they're talking about the story that we're talking about, that Donald Trump, and they're saying, Donald Trump refused to answer the question about whether he would be a dictator. I mean, they are breathlessly taking, and you have to understand the seriousness. I'm not making this up, folks. They had the host. I don't know who the host's name is. I don't bother learning these names because they cycle them so quickly because they're such a failing organization. The host has some sort of commentator on there, and they're both doing a stand-up, and he's like, tell us about it. Well, you have to understand the background of this. And Donald Trump was sitting with an ally. Sean Hannity is an ally of Donald Trump's. And Sean Hannity understood that he needed to give Trump political cover for his intentions should he be president. And he tried to do so, and Donald Trump still refused to answer the question. So they're taking this seriously, something that was obviously designed to be a joke. They're taking it seriously. He wouldn't even answer the question. So if Donald Trump is so evil, like the media would have you believe, and if he is so intent on becoming a dictator, and if it is so important to expose him regarding his dictatorial desires, then why wouldn't Donald Trump just lie about it and answer the question? I mean, if we're going to take this seriously, like CNN apparently is intent on doing, they do this all the time. Donald Trump clearly jokes about something and, Donald Trump said this, Donald Trump said that. If he's so evil, and he just couldn't manage to figure out how to become an authoritarian last time around. He just couldn't manage to figure out how to become a dictator last time around. And he's so evil, Why doesn't he sit on stage with Sean Hannity and say, of course not, Sean. I believe in the democratic process. I love America, and I love our voters, and everything's on the up and up, and 2020 was on the up and up. Everybody knows we fought hard, but we just didn't win. Right? If you believe, as CNN believes, that this man is evil incarnate, that would be the play. But instead, Donald Trump acts like a normal human being and jokes about it and laughs it off and freaks the media out because he knows exactly how the media will be responding to it. All right, so I've got this article that I want to share with you that you will not believe is real, but it is, regarding Trump. We have other matters to talk about. By the way, don't let me forget before the show's over to circle back to our phone issues from yesterday with Governor Bill Lee and do a follow-up on that because I promised that I would do that. In the meantime, you've got the audio. This is John Kerry reportedly pooting on an open microphone. Ready? I've never heard this, so we'll hear it together. Go. I had never heard that, but I know where the poot was supposed to be. Can you give it to me one more time, Bell? Maybe give me a little. Does his face change at all?
No, but the camera cuts to, I don't know who the woman is. It cuts to another woman on stage with him, and she just sort of, she almost does a Dr. Evil, but with her finger under her nose, like, what just happened?
I'd say that's a poot, right?
It sounded, but well, there's other people on stage, so I don't know for a fact.
Maybe it was somebody else.
Yeah, but the what I find even more hilarious is he's talking about how there should be no more coal-fired plants created in the world ever again. That should be stopped.
Right.
But he doesn't say anything to address how we're going to power all those electric vehicles.
Or the methane problem that exists.
On his stage.
On the stage. Give it to me one more time. You can cut out a little bit of the beginning, but I want to hear it one more time. I just want to make sure that I'm being as fair as possible to John Kerry reporting for duty. You'll have to forgive me. Boys, a male's sense of humor kind of sets in stone at around the age of 13. For you ladies in the listening audience, and I love you and appreciate you and need more of you, I apologize for the entire male gender. Because I know what you have to go through, ladies. And our sense of humor, you know what? We might refine it. We might grow it. But the roots of our sense of humor start and end at about the age of 13. And boys never think that fart jokes aren't funny. We just don't. And I'm sorry for you. I apologize. When we return, Donald Trump is hiding his fascist plans in plain sight. It is a comedy routine that I will attempt to recite to you without comment. Next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for the world-famous Glock store. If you go to glockstore.com right now, you'll see it. you'll see the incredible different, areas of the Glock store. They have the retail side of things. They sell more firearms. They sell more magazines. They sell more parts and accessories than anybody else in this area for good reason. And now the holidays are upon us. And if you're wondering what to get the loved one in your life, what about some apparel or gear from the Glock store? What about a holster for the gun lover in your life at the Glock store? What about some training at the Glock store? They've got the Shoot 270 lanes open and available for you at the Glock store, and they want to see you. You can come in. If you're a spouse of somebody that's a gun enthusiast, and I categorize it as male and female last hour, and I apologize. I shouldn't do that because there are plenty of women that have learned to be proficient in firearms with the Glock store as well. As a matter of fact, they have ladies-only classes, and they have female instructors at the Glock store. You can find out more about that when you go to shoot270.com and see the incredible shooting rooms, the training rooms, not lanes, rooms, at the world-famous Glock store. You'll be amazed when you stop by on Air Lane Drive just off of Elm Hill Pike, and anywhere within the sound of my voice, well worth the drive. For the holiday season, let's get to the Glock store. It's McGill's world-famous Glock store. Go to glockstore.com, glockstore.com, or shoot270.com. Hey, guys, during the break, by the way, you can dial us up at any time, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. You're welcome to do that and turn a monologue into a dialogue. I encourage that on the phone lines, or you can also do that on the super text line. And I've been remiss in getting back to some of these super texts, and we will do so as well. Bell K, during that break, I said, Bell, we need to isolate that sound. We've got some very modern technologies at our fingertips here at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Contrary to popular belief, we have the cutting edge audio technology available to us to really get down to what this sound was. And
we can isolate it and enhance it.
And that's what you've done. So Bell has that sound we just played you, John Kerry. We've isolated and enhanced John Kerry, and this is what it sounds like once we do that. Go. Well, then.
It never gets old.
Not to me. Hey, 2 years. 2 years we've been here. I feel like I've said some good things in 2 years. I feel like.
Oh, without a doubt.
I mean, I feel like there have been moments when, and I don't want to assume anything, but Bell is the one that I get to look at, right? And I hope that you guys feel the same way. But I feel like there are moments when, and I try for these because I have great respect for Bell's intelligence and the way that he looks at the world. And so there are moments in time when I say something and Bell, one of his eyebrows maybe goes up a little bit. Ooh, I hadn't thought about that. Or, ooh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Does Bell save those on the wall? No, he saves this. Giggity. I'm John Kerry. I'm kind of pitching to the left a little bit. John Kerry reporting for duty. Do you think Joe Biden will be their candidate? That's the question.
So critical of Joe Biden. And, of course, he is struggling cognitively. I can't think of, in the last couple of months, any appearance that he has had where he wasn't either mumbling or bumbling or stumbling or having no clue where to go, where to exit. Now, my question is, do you think in 11 months he will be their candidate?
I personally don't think he makes it. Okay, I haven't said that. I'm saving it for this big town hall. I personally don't think he makes it. I think he's in bad shape physically. Do you remember when he said, I'd like to take him behind the barn? If he took me behind the barn and I went like this, I believe he'd fall over. I believe he'd fall over. And who knows? Who knows? But it was okay. And by the way, it was okay for him to say that. He said, I'd like to take him behind the... He could say that and everyone thought it was so cute. If I ever said it, they'd say, he's a dictator. He's a horrible human being. It's a whole double standard we have, and not only in the law, but just about everything else, as you know very well. I personally don't think he makes it physically. I watched him at the beach. He wasn't able to lift a beach chair, which is meant for children to lift. You can lift them like that. And funny. Mentally, I would say he's possibly equally as bad and maybe worse. But I don't know. I will say this. He's got vicious people surrounding him around that beautiful Oval Office. There are people in that Oval Office that are evil people, bad people, smart people, young, vicious. They're communists and they're bad.
Who do you think would replace him then?
Well, I saw one person on who I actually had a very good relationship with, but I'm sure that it would end very quickly. I saw him in your debate the other night, and he's slick, but he's got no facts. He's got no facts. I thought he did well, considering...
You're talking about Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, considering that he didn't have the facts. I thought he did well. He said, we have the lowest taxes in the country. We have the cleanest streets in the country. And I'm saying, wait a minute, is he talking about the same place? So he'd certainly be one. I guess they say that Kamala would be the odds to be.
Oh, and there's a lot of boos for that. So there's Donald Trump last night. An interesting discussion. He's of the same opinion that I've been on. I've been on this opinion since last April. I'm not saying I was first, but I'm sticking with my prediction that Joe Biden does not make it over the next 11 months. It's 1:31, almost 1:32. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Do you have loved ones that avoid holiday gatherings because they cannot hear? Or do you have loved ones that avoid holiday gatherings and you don't know why? Is it possible because they can't hear? Because typically what happens when folks get older and they find themselves in an environment where they can't understand what's going on, conversations across a table, multiple conversations going on in a room of gathered people, and those folks, and I watched my grandpa do this, they begin to slowly dissolve into the woodwork or don't come to the functions at all. If that's the case for a family member, encourage them to go to Brentwood Hearing Center. Encourage them to get diagnosed by Ronnie and his team of audiologists. Most people wait way too long to do this. They want to pretend that their hearing will magically come back, or they just don't want to pay attention to it at all. And that's not the case. I mean, obviously, when you begin the road of hearing loss, it's oftentimes a road that does not end until you cannot hear anything and you eliminate those functions in your life that make life worth living. Ronnie and his team want to dissolve that. They want to get you back to living the fullest life possible. With Brentwood Hearing Center, they have the modern products available for you. If you or a loved one is hard of hearing, you need to talk with one of their specialists today. Better hearing for a better life at Brentwood Hearing Center. Call Ronnie and his team, 615-377-0420, 377-0420. It's Brentwood Hearing Center. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We've now reached the stage where I have super texters asking us to move on from the poot jokes. And so we will.
I just want to complain real quick.
What?
Damn show getting in the way of our conversations.
I know. So let me finish up the conversation that we were having, right? So you heard that commercial advertisement, and that woman's name was Ann Wilson, right? My grandma's name was Ann Wilson. And I said that was my grandma's name. And her middle name was Judson. And I knew her middle name before I understood that it was her middle name. Because when I was a young kid, if my grandmother and grandfather, if they got in a way where they were kind of, if my grandmother seemed annoyed at something, or there were just moments in time when I remember my grandfather saying, "Okay, Judson." And it would just, the look on her face, she wouldn't say a word. She would normally just leave the room. But I didn't understand why he was calling her Judson.
Just phonetically, it almost sounds like he's wanting to say, "Okay, Jughead."
Her middle name was Judson. She hated it. And so when he wanted to get under her skin, he would call her Judson. 138 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for being around with us. Please give us a call if you so desire. Primarily focused on the back and forth exchange between Donald Trump and Sean Hannity and the obsession over the mainstream media's obsession that Donald Trump is and will be a dictator. He's a dictator in waiting. All right, I'm going to read this to you real quick. It's worth it. It is an absolute comedy article written by a person whom I've never heard of by the name of Amanda Marcotte, Marcotte, Marcotte or Marcotte. And it's commentary from salon.com. I'm telling you, I read these internet websites so you don't have to. There are a lot of garbage out there, And sadly, a lot of Americans buy into this nonsense and garbage. Trump is hiding his fascist plans in plain sight. Trump's nightmarish scheme was leaked to the New York Times, and yes, it was on purpose. Now, I'm going to read this to you. And as I do, laugh at it. But as you laugh, understand something. These people are dead serious, and they're trying to convince America that this is reality. Here we go. Watching cable news is a frequent source of despair. But one especially fraught spiral occurred Monday while subjecting myself to Morning Joe on MSNBC. The segment guest was Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, who was promoting his magazine's thorough, frightening, and entirely accurate warning that Donald Trump's goal is to end American democracy and replace it with a fascist system. A variety of Atlantic journalists from across the political spectrum. So they had leftists and really leftists. Anyway, I couldn't help it. A variety of Atlantic journalists from across the political spectrum contributed with heavily researched and smart analysis. Smart. Laying out Trump's agenda of ending the rule of law, using extra-legal violence to suppress dissent. Extra-legal violence to suppress dissent, and securing his power so thoroughly, voters will be unable to remove him peacefully. There's been a surge of such reporting in recent weeks from some of the most reputable publications in the country. On Monday, the New York Times published a lengthy expose of Trump's long history of admiring authoritarian dictators, even ones who use murder to silence opponents. This follows another investigation into the ominously named Project 2025, created by a team of very smart but very evil people who want to dismantle democracy and are working through the details of how to pull it off. The Washington Post has even tried to draw attention to Trump's plans through ye old listicles that uses bold fonts and short paragraphs, so even your drunkest uncle could probably read it if he wanted to. It's all very much journalism of the kind called for by NYU Professor Jay Rosen, who encourages reporting not on the odds, but on the stakes. And then this article goes on to quote Jay Rosen from X or Twitter, where he says, that's my shorthand for the organizing principle that we need from journalists covering the 2024 election. Not who has chances of winning, but the consequences for our democracy. It's the odds, not the stakes. In other words, Jay Rosen and this article writer and others are giving the media a pass to intentionally not be objective with reporting the news. In other words, they're saying that they're setting this up, folks, and I want to divert from the article for a second. They're setting this up. Understand what they're about to try to do to you. They're about to tell you that they do not have to cover Trump fairly, accurately. They do not need to report the facts because democracy is at stake. I'm telling you what's about to happen in 2024. They will not accurately and adequately report the news to the people, the skulls of mush that aren't paying enough attention. And for those who don't listen to talk radio or don't invest the time to investigate internet websites that give you the true facts and the real deal and allow you to decide for yourselves, I mean, hell, even Fox News is willing to do some of that. But the mainstream media and these quote-unquote journalists, the ones that I were talking about, if you missed the first hour, one of the reasons that they are so angry about this is because their egos have been bruised. They are not needed in American society, or at very least, they do not control the narratives of American society in the way that they used to. And they always operated under this claim of journalistic integrity and journalistic objectivity. And what they're doing now is encouraging other journalists that they don't need to follow the facts, that they are allowed to omit facts because democracy itself is at stake. That's what they tell you. On with this ridiculous article. Goldberg outlined his hopes for this coverage. With any luck, maybe at Christmas, people could read it and bring it to their relatives who are on the fence and say, look, here's what's going to happen. Do you want this or not want this? It's very simple. But that's when my heart sank. Because while it should be that simple, it's not. A Venn diagram. Oh, Venn diagrams. Venn diagrams. Kamala Harris would be proud. Venn diagram illustrating people who aren't sure who they're going to vote for and people who are willing to read the Atlantic, the Washington Post, and the New York Times would show two circles with no overlap. Put these articles in front of people who most need to hear the message, and most of them will not get past the headline. It's too easy to dismiss it as liberal hysterics, especially when headlines have language like, a Trump dictatorship is increasingly inevitable. So this person is arguing that the commentary seems too hysterical, and their commentary's headline was, Trump is hiding his fascist plans in plain sight. In most ways, Trump is as dumb as rocks, but he and his team are alarmingly smart about how to manipulate the media. In this case, he's figured out the best way to keep the muddled middle of American voters from knowing what he's up to. Is the best way to do this. Listen to this logic. This person, this author, Amanda, whatever her name is arguing, in this case, he has figured out the best way to keep the muddled middle of American voters from knowing what he's up to is to publish it in the New York Times. It's like hiding Christmas gifts in the basket of cleaning supplies, knowing children will never voluntarily look there. I bet this article author was very, very proud of that analogy when she made it. Very proud. You get the kid thing in there because anybody that would vote for Trump as a child, oh, you get it all in there. So my question for this moron would be, if he's trying to hide it, why does he bring it up at all? Wouldn't he be better not to? You dope. Channel my inner Levin. You big dope. For close readers, she continues. Oh, I assume that Amanda's a... Is it okay to assume Amanda's a she?
Absolutely not.
Amanda hug and kiss?
It's just...
Shut up.
13. You're right. 13.
Hello, welcome. I'd like to introduce you to my friend. I need Amanda hug and kiss over here. Wasn't that a Simpsons? I think that was a Simpsons.
Yeah, it was Mo.
It was when Bart was calling Mo.
Yeah, he called Mo's place, and Bart always did a name like that.
Can I get Amanda hug and kiss? I need Amanda hug and kiss over here. For close readers, what is striking about the reporting on Trump's nefarious schemes is that the journalist clearly got the information directly from Trump and his team. The sources for the New York Times report on Project 225, for example, are primarily people working for or with the Trump campaign. It's a conspiracy to dismantle democracy, but not secret like most conspiracies. Oh, no. This one has its own website that anyone with an internet browser can read, but none will. Nor is it just Trump staffers confessing like James Bond villains to Maggie Haberman. Much of this information comes straight from Trump's mouth on the campaign trail, where he directly channels Mussolini and Hitler by promising to root out the vermin who vote against him. while also valorizing the insurrectionist of January 6th. As Goldberg said on MSNBC, all you have to do is listen to Donald Trump and the loyalists around him. He's telling you what's going to happen. Trump is flagrant about his goals because he knows the only people who are paying attention are already either fierce supporters or people who are going to vote against him anyway. Huge swaths of Americans who may or may not vote or who aren't sure who to vote for, however, aren't paying attention, close enough attention to know what's going on. And on and on and on and on it goes. Never really getting specific about exactly how Donald Trump plans to dismantle democracy. Never really getting specific about Donald Trump's goals to do so. Never really helping us understand what power Donald Trump would have in a second Trump presidency that he did not have during the first Trump presidency. Just on and on and on and on about how Trump wants this and Trump wants dictatorship and Trump is an authoritarian, never explaining how all of that happens. But then the article writer concludes by sharing his fascist plans with the New York Times, where only liberals will read it. Trump is pulling the bleep grab move. The goal is to scare liberals so they freak out on cable news and social media. Trump's loyal followers can high-five and laugh how they're triggering their opponents. But it's also works on that third party being asked to pick a side. When that person hears liberals complain about how Trump is grabbing democracy by the bleep, they throw their hands up and say, who's to say you're not the one making it up? So they're making things up about Donald Trump being a dictator and then suggesting that Donald Trump responding to these claims that he's a dictator is an example of how he's a dictator or wants to be. It would be ludicrous if so many people had not bought into it. It's 1:50. Your thoughts? Billy will be first. You could be next. 615-737-9986. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Oh, my wife had a great conversation with Pat Davis. He is your health plan man, and I want you to have a conversation with him as well. She said it went great, about a 20-minute conversation going over options for her. She's looking for independent health insurance, and good for her. Your health plan man, I talk about him all the time, and we are putting, as a family, our money where our mouths are. And as a matter of fact, we're discussing the possibility of no offense to Cumulus Media here, but if I can get a better rate through your health plan man and better coverage, why wouldn't I do that? Save some money in the process. So I'll be talking with him about that as well. You know, in most cases, the Freedom of Choice plan allows you to pick your doctors. It is 30 to 60% lower than Obamacare. The monthly premiums are independent of your income, so there's no surprise bills. So if you pay for your own health insurance, if you are uninsured, if you're on COBRA, or if your employer offers coverage that's just too expensive, do me a favor and do what my family's done. Call your health plan man. Pat Davis is available for you. 855-4-PLAN-MAN. That's 855-4-PLAN-MAN. Or go to yourhealthplanman.com. That's yourhealthplanman.com. Design a plan that's managed by you, not by the government. Do so by calling Pat Davis and yourhealthplanman.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Coming up in the 2 o'clock hour, we'll welcome Cameron Smith of the Tennessean, and a voice that you hear quite often on Super Talk 99.7 WTN at least once a week. We'll welcome him to the program. He's sitting here like he gets to talk now, but he doesn't. I hope you're on camera when you do that. But we'll talk to Billy in Nashville and Mark in the borough while we have a moment or two. Hello, Billy. How are you?
Doing fine. I just want to know a couple of things. If Trump has been studying how to become a dictator and how he cannot stand not to have power and how he can have his political enemies murdered without a trace of anything coming back to him, just how long has he been studying the Clintons?
How long has their methods, their methodology? Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, and he apparently has been just as successful as the Clintons in maintaining that level of power. That's what is as amusing as anything to me, is that they're screaming about how if Donald Trump gets elected president again, that he will be a dictator this time around when he was president before. So did he just not have it figured out then? And in the interim, while Joe Biden's been ruining the country, he has studied it enough that he's figured out how to make it work this time? Because that's what the political left would have you believe. You can't help yourself.
I got to.
Hey, Cameron.
Look, being a dictator is hard. You've got to learn.
That's right.
4 years is not long enough.
You got to learn how to dictate, and dictation, and I'm more of a hesitator. No, I'm an agitator.
Procrastinator.
Procrastinator. That's true.
Agitator is well played.
Yeah. I remember we got potatoes in school, and I was an agitator, and it was over projects, and the kids that didn't do them, they were procrastinators, actually. Mac Morey waits for no man, not even me. He's ready for the – don't shake your head at me. You just sit in there and do the news. I'll steal your bicycle. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Two o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Currently 48 degrees, mostly cloudy in Nashville. You got a weather forecast coming up in 2 minutes. The United States has announced war crimes charges over Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Derek Dennis.
Ukrainian civilians targeted and executed, children forcibly deported, women and girls sexually assaulted. Just some of the human rights offenses U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland says Russian operatives committed in last year's invasion of Ukraine. And now federal charges are being filed against 4 Russia-affiliated military personnel,
including war crimes outlawed by the international community after World War II, unlawful confinement, torture, and inhuman treatment.
It's the first time ever that the Justice Department has taken action under the U.S. war crimes statute.
Right now in Tennessee Congressman Steve Cohen has announced a $500,000 grant proposing a passenger rail corridor from Atlanta here to Tennessee. The rail line would link Atlanta to Chattanooga, Memphis, and Nashville. And with the announcement of this grant, the proposed rail line will be eligible for step 1 of the program to develop a scope, schedule, and cost estimate for preparing or documenting its service development plan. Over in the nation's capital, House members preparing to vote today on the censure of New York Congressman Jamal Bowen. Justin Finch.
New York Democrat Jamal Bowman's censure vote is set for Wednesday, a day after Washington Republican Lisa McClain introduced a privilege resolution calling for the formal reprimand. McClain posting that resolution on social media, adding nobody is above the law. But if a Democratic motion to table McClain's resolution passes, that censure vote would be dropped. Bowman admitted to pulling a congressional building fire alarm as House members were prepping to vote on government spending back in September.
And Bowman pleaded guilty to activating that false alarm, was ordered to pay a $1,000 fine, and was placed on probation. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
It's the holiday season. I'll stop singing now and tell you that it is the holiday season. And if you're wondering what to give the fella in your life that likes a lot of guns, what about a gun safe to store all of his guns in? Maybe he's outgrown that current safe and you need to get him a bigger one. That's okay, too. You know, Mark at the Safe House will talk to you about that because Mark can help you out. You know, he's got gently used safes. He's got, scratch and dent things that have considerable mark-offs. So if you're on a budget, they can help you out. You don't have to shrink in size in order to meet that budget. And they've got a different type of brand for every price point. They've got Browning, they've got Fort Knox, Champion, Superior, and on it goes at Mark's Nashville Safe House. Plus, it's what they do. You know, you go to these places where they got a couple of safes in the corner. There's normally a lot of dust on them. They don't know where the manual is. They don't know where the combination is. But, they'll deliver it to you for free. For free. Come on. You don't get anything for free like that, especially when it's a 500-pound safe or whatnot. No. Don't let a crackhead deliver your safe. You need a qualified professional to do so. And Mark will tell you the cost of delivering the safe versus the cost of the safe, and it is low because they got rebates. And you don't pay sales tax on a gun safe. Sales tax is non-existent on gun safes, thanks in part to Mark and Nashville Safe House. So I want you to go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com, see the incredible selection, and go by and see them. 4th Avenue South. For the holiday season, put something at least beside, if not under the tree, from the Safe House. Nashville Safe House, 4th Avenue South. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN 205, almost 206, and a good afternoon. Our final hour of the day, we'll hand off to Brian Wilson in the drive coming up in mere moments. It is episode 469. Don't forget, we have a huge second anniversary celebration next week. Excited about that. We've got a big party going on. Call it a Christmas party, if you will. I don't know if it's a Christmas party or not, but I know that Chris Hand asked me to help him out. Hey, Mac Morey, you know more about Chris Hand than you can shake a stick at. So have you heard about this Christmas tree he's bringing to the party tomorrow night?
Oh, yeah. I had to do the measurements of the doors, make sure we could fit it in.
He hit me up early today and said, hey, Murph, I need a big favor. And I said, sure. He said, do you have a trailer? I said, no, but I can borrow one. I know someone that has a trailer. He goes, because I don't think this fits in the back of your truck, but I need your truck.
Oh, good.
And so he said he was worried. You guys were worried about that earlier today.
Yeah,
so
we were talking about it. I said, make sure you ask me. I'm glad he asked you. Yeah, no, it's gonna be a sight to see.
So that's pretty good. So I'm assisting in that regard for the big holiday celebration, or it's a station celebration tomorrow night, starting at 4:00 at Cedar Creek Marina at Scoreboard. Cameron Smith, I would like to extend to you an invitation to come out and be with us. First beverage of your choosing is on me.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Tomorrow night, Mount Juliet, Scoreboard, Cedar Creek Marina. Be there.
Only if that tree is a uniparty holly. If it's not, then I don't know. I just need to know.
You know what we need to do, Maury, is you and I need to moderate this thing. And we just need to go ahead and do it. Both.
Get it out of the way.
I think both parties are begging for it. I think everybody wants it. Everybody wants to see it, and I'm here for the
hand to cam combat.
Hand to cam combat. That's not bad. That's not bad. We'll workshop it. We'll brainstorm.
It'll be fun over the holidays. I'm going to be filling in for you and for Chris, and we'll have some fun, man. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, you are in the week before Christmas, so the 19th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Make your plans accordingly. If you hate me and love Cameron, that's your week.
Yeah.
Because I'm out and he's in.
Yeah.
I like that.
That would be weird, though, for them to be listening to your show while hating you. But there's at least 4 or 5 of them out there.
You get a lot of them. Yeah. You get a lot of them. I want to get to Mark real quick because he wants to talk about this article on Donald Trump. I was reading from a Salon.com article because liberals are kind of going through the playbook that they went through in 2016 and 2020, and they're pulling the pages out that still work for them, and they've got to kind of rework the model and amp up the rhetoric. Believe it or not, there is a thin avenue to ramp the rhetoric up even more.
But Matt, Liz Cheney says this may be the last election you ever get to vote in. What?
I mean, look, I'm talking to a guy that I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I mean, Trump.
I call balls and strikes all the time.
Part of the reason that I like having you on the show is I have great respect for you and your political knowledge.
Sure.
But we also see this differently.
Yeah.
Not in broad strokes. I mean, but we do see it differently. And I'm more of a populist than you are.
Sure, that's fair.
And so it's part of the reason that I enjoy this exchange, because I think you probably represent a portion of the audience that gets a little bit of a lump in your throat because of some of the issues surrounding Trump.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I find even you, though, recognize I don't understand what they think he's going to do, that he found a magic button, the dictator button. He didn't know where it was.
Remember that time he lost the election and stayed in the White House? Remember that?
I do not.
Right. No one does, because it didn't happen. My reservations about Trump are pretty much fact and character based. Like he said he does stuff, but that he doesn't do, or he sets things on fire that don't need to be. And, oh, by the way, he's really old. I have these reservations. We talk about them. I know some people, I don't worship any politician. That's a part of being conservative. But the ridiculous oversell of how existential of a threat he is. I mean, I have friends that legit call me, and, they're mostly on the left side of things. They're like, I'm worried for our democracy. I'm worried if Trump.
Bet you are.
Guys, we count votes the same way we always have. And so I can tell you that Biden won the last election. I take a lot on the chin for that, right? I say that. And a lot of Republicans are like, no, dog, dadgummit, he did not. Well, guess what? Joe Biden looks like he's not going to win this next election. And that's how we count him the same way.
Well, and we could relitigate that till the cows come home. It's been done. The bottom line is Joe Biden is president.
Yes.
Regardless of how you think all that went down. And most of us don't want that to happen again.
Right. Right. We don't need to go back to 2020 to be like, this is not going great, guys.
I go back and forth because there are some in conservative circles, and these are, to a certain degree, never Trumpers, that say that the leftist media is playing the long game, that they're using this type of rhetoric because they want to sound ridiculous now so that they get Trump as the primary candidate because they think he's the only one that they can beat.
Sure. I don't think they're going to have a big issue with him as the primary candidate, right? I mean, I haven't yet to see the only chance for, in my mind, Haley or DeSantis is the field collapses the rest of the way. There's only one, and it's a close call in a primary head-to-head versus Trump when the voting starts happening. Maybe.
And I think the only way I think you're right. You've said it, that if one of these criminal cases is fully litigated prior to and he is found guilty, that would perhaps cause a certain segment of American voters to think twice about voting for him.
Yeah.
But I think that has to happen before the primary.
Yeah.
In these individuals.
So I think what happens is we're asking Republicans to say, okay, about the indictments. Everybody's kind of taking that into account. You're saying, well, we don't think he did it, and we don't think he's guilty, so we're willing to take the risk that he doesn't get convicted on any of these, and he's fine in the general. Because I don't think we're going to get another bite of the apple. I think if you're going with Trump, you're going full send all the way through the general. It's not like you can say, well, I'm in here in the primary, but I want to change my mind if he gets convicted of something. That's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not allowed to do that. Hey, Can I cast my vote, but can you hold it aside just in case?
That's not a thing.
No, that's not a thing. Well, and for me, it's more of a stand against what I perceive as a political persecution. Because regardless of whether or not they snagged him on process stuff down in Florida, which I think is the most concerning circumstance, the rest of it I believe is garbage. But even if I look at that as a process issue, I still think it's a political persecution and prosecution. And for that reason, it galvanizes my support more so, because I think the long-term ramifications of that type of thing are dangerous. I'm not suggesting that it's going to be a part of the cycle, because I think Donald Trump is certainly, as a politician, I say this as a plus to him. He's a one-off.
Right.
I mean, there's nobody else like him. You can't replicate him. But
well, my big deal is, if you don't like the law, process or otherwise, change the law. Like, if you think that this is not a law that we would equally apply to other people, we shouldn't have the law.
Well, I would say this. It has the case against Joe Biden, right? So that's what I would point to.
The
right?
case?
If you want to talk about the law, right? And you know, in this case, we're talking, and I don't want to get into the weeds on it, but we're talking, you know, documents that shouldn't have been in certain places. Well, I mean, and there's now evidence that there was active movement of the Biden documents from location to location to keep people from realizing that he had them. So that's exactly what Donald Trump's being charged with doing. And there's evidence that he moved them from the Penn Center to his home in Wilmington, and no one's investigating that. And so
we certainly have a look over there problem.
Well, my point is this: if your argument is the rule of law matters,
it does.
No, it doesn't. It most certainly does not. Not to the Bidens.
Well, I can't speak for the Bidens.
But you know what I'm saying, is that my retort would be, well, apparently it matters so long as it's a Republican.
And so I think this is a problem for any Republican or Democrat, is what you're saying, I think most Americans feel. They say, look, there's a tiered justice system here. It's not fairly and evenly applied. What we see, well, they're going after Trump. Well, the answer should be, if we think the law is the right law, they go after everybody. Like, they are consistent and they apply it. And it shouldn't be, we don't go after anyone. And that, to me, is, if the answer is we shouldn't go after anyone, we need to change the law.
Well, no. What I would agree with that to this point. Yes, if that's the law, go after everybody. But if given the choice between just go after Trump or go after nobody, it should be go after nobody.
Right, because you're talking pure selective prosecution at that point.
Right. And I think people feel in their guts, and this is kind of the bottom line on all of this, and I think it's where people are, and it's why Trump is doing so well, that I believe that if Donald Trump announced today that he was not running for president of the United States, over the next 2 months, all of this would go away. They would figure out, I mean, maybe it wouldn't go away because they're so angry, but, I mean, most of the cases would.
I think Donald Trump has made a very effective argument that a prosecutor can indict anybody for anything.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is when a jury comes back with a verdict. I still believe the justice system can work even if the prosecution doesn't.
I think that, but see, and you and I talked about this maybe off air. I forget what we talk about off air and on air, but I don't think we get to that point until after the presidential election.
I agree. I think you're probably right.
And
or
so,
at least very much after the primary.
Right, so certainly the primary is going to happen. Donald Trump will be the candidate unless some weird unforeseen something. And then the voters, and I get your concern. You don't believe that he can carry enough of these people to the polls. With that, you have to have faith at that point. You have to truly believe, as I do, that it is a political prosecution, and you have to vote against that as much as for Trump at that point. And the fear that you have, and I get it, is that you won't get enough Americans to.
Yeah, I know where this election's decided, right? Because we see this and we've seen this trend, and we know. And so this is the challenge I run into, is because I'm sort of laying the table as it actually is versus an argument in Tennessee. Trump would win Tennessee handily. There's no issue there. It's in these swing states where those point swings matter in terms of a conviction versus not would be substantial. Now, Joe Biden is the weakest candidate, other than maybe the vice president. By
the way, can we just sit on that for just a second? That's incredible.
It's shocking.
It's incredible that Kamala Harris, and I said this in a tweet the other day, and I had to actually edit my tweet, because originally I was like, we need to keep Joe Biden. Joe Biden is the weakest possible candidate the Democrats could possibly put up. And then I sent it. And then I sat there and I went, Kamala's
She's still worse.
She's worse.
Right. And it's like, how did you manage to figure this out? This is pretty impressive.
How did you get a less likable, seemingly less intelligent candidate than yourself?
Well, I mean, this is for me to look at Gavin Newsom debating Ron DeSantis, completely pulling stuff out of his butt. Like, literally, they had the poop maps. I mean, we have some real issues with substance there, but he at least seemed coherent-ish. But, like, what Democrats are putting up, it's
Gavin
awful.
Newsom would be a problem.
Yeah.
Because, and folks, when I say that,
it's not on substance.
It's not a reflection on you, and it's not a reflection on the substance of the argument. It's a reflection on how I believe Gavin Newsom could dupe the dunderheads.
Bingo.
In the world, right? In America. He could dupe them. And Donald Trump knows that, too. You and Trump agree. He was on Hannity last night, and he said, I watched news. He was he said the reason he lost the debate is that he was exactly right. I thought of you when he said this, by the way. He said, he lost the debate. He's slick. He's good, but he doesn't have the facts.
Right.
He's just making things up. But he still sounded really good while he was making things up.
Yeah, and that's where Ron DeSantis had the winning stats, everything. But, I mean, good grief, he can't smile to save his life.
Kind of a goober.
Right.
He had the poop map. I mean, how do you not win with the poop map?
He had the message, right? He had the facts.
Yeah.
You know, but the difference in carriage was breathtaking. And the truth is, and nobody in politics wants to say this, but all it takes is those swing voters being like, oh, he seems like a nice guy.
I know. It is sad, but it is, I don't know that I would call it a failure of the system that we have. I mean, our system of representative democracy is the best that has ever been devised by man. But sadly, in the modern times, the smart people are dependent on the people that either don't pay attention or are kind of dumb.
Yes.
At the end of it all. And that's a frightening proposition.
Well, this is where people didn't understand. Why is Donald Trump in 2016 just destroying the rest of the Republican field? It was because he just tried to appeal to people directly and not make policy arguments or anything and just be like, are you mad about things? Yeah.
Me too.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it worked. And Gavin Newsom can do that.
He's going right back to the heart of it. I mean, this conversation, I think he has a knack. I mean, say what you will about it, blah, 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 and how he goes off in tangents and whatever. He has a knack for hitting at places where people, they don't even have to think about it. They feel it, and it feels right. He said, will I be a dictator? He said, no, except on day one. And he said, border and energy. And that just feels right. Like those are the two issues we have to correct first. And you get the base, and hopefully you get enough people beyond the base. All right, hold on a second. We've got Mark, we've got Steve, we've got David. I'd love to talk with each of you with Cameron Smith joining us this hour. It is the Matt Murphy Show. We continue. No bikes stolen this hour. We are bike safe for the better part of this hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That push from Israel's military into Gaza going deeper and deeper. Some news in Memphis from a story earlier this year. And former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy making an announcement. 2:30 Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
I know what it is. Hey, Mac Morey.
Yeah.
You're all over the news of the day.
Of course.
Have there been any reports of increased bicycle theft in and around the Nissan Stadium area?
I have not seen it.
Good. That's good.
Have you been in the building all day? Because then it's probably correspond together.
Well, not all day.
Look, he only steals bikes from needy people every now and then.
It's once in a while.
I'm just telling you people, if you have the opportunity to ride a bike in an enclosed area that is normally designed for large amounts of people and you're the only person there, do it.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds fun.
The only better thing is if I had been on a go-kart.
Doing stuff in a convention center with nobody there.
Oh, it's so good.
Amazing.
hit golf balls, baseballs.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what?
I had an idea for, and I don't know why someone hasn't done this, and people tell me it's ventilation, but we could figure this out. Several of the malls in Birmingham were just, Birmingham. Several of the malls in Birmingham were going kaput.
Yeah, creepy.
And it got creepy. And my idea was to open up a huge game theme park indoor and utilize parts of the mall as a go-kart track.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Go
Can you imagine?
Catch the flag.
Yes.
Paintball.
A golf simulator.
Yeah.
Have you ever done the real fast go-karts? They make you wear a helmet?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, imagine there's no track. You're just in a giant convention center.
Oh.
Concrete floors everywhere, and you're just screaming through there.
Blood
living
everywhere.
Living
Blood
your best
everywhere.
life ever.
Broken bones everywhere.
You got to live. Got to live.
Got to live your life. Young kids, Mac Morey, I include you in this number. Believe it or not, there was a time when trampolines did not have walls.
Yeah.
Not only not walls, but that padding over the springs wasn't there.
No, it was not.
And if you miss the trampoline, leg goes right through. I don't understand how we kept our limbs.
No.
Leg goes right through, scrapes the leg with and then if somebody else, while your leg's through there, if you don't get your leg out.
The intergrowing pinch.
Oh, yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I do.
First time I broke.
Stop bouncing, guys. Stop bouncing.
First time I broke my arm was on a trampoline. Oh, yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Older brother and his friend double bouncing me. I'm 7 years old. They're combined 450 pounds. I go flying.
And anytime a brother, it's definitely brothers, let's double bounce, fill in the blank, and someone's going to die.
And at that point, somehow the word stop becomes the funniest word in the English language.
Exactly.
Right.
Stop.
Your cries of pain. It's so funny.
Feed me.
My boys would throw in water balloons, basketballs, rocks, whatever. Just sort of.
I don't know that we've ever made a Simpsons reference on the radio show, and this is number 2 in one day. The first was Bart calling Moe, Amanda hug and kiss.
Eat my shorts.
The second, you remember there was a great scene in The Simpsons years ago where somebody gets a trampoline, and if you've ever seen Gone with the Wind, there's a scene in Gone with the Wind where they're treating the wounded, and then they pan, and there's this majestic scene of all of the wounded people. So you get the totality of war. The Simpsons recreated that outside of the trampoline. So they pan over from the trampoline, and all the kids with their wounds and their blood and their heads all bandaged up. The dramatic music plays.
Yeah, well, now they have trampoline parks that are super padded. It's like an insane asylum with a bouncy thing on it.
Have you been to one of those?
Oh, heck yeah.
See,
man.
I've not. I don't.
You shouldn't.
I know. I'm not going. No, that's death.
One, they're gross.
Yeah,
and
they are.
Even the clean ones are gross.
But they're fun.
And 2.
You go?
I've been. I'm actually going here soon, I think, with my niece and nephew.
What the hell is that?
I bet the youngsters roll their eyes when you get in there, because you're an old person.
I know. That's weird now.
He's 12.
I have scars older than him.
I know.
That's true.
It's like you know what? It should remind you that everything's relative. You come in here and you're the youngster.
The bouncy ones, I mean, you just see kids flying everywhere. Like, there's big ropes. They're like, and there's ball pits and the foam pits and stuff. But like, there's a shocking lack of bleeding and broken bones. I don't see how, but it's because they don't really have any hard surfaces. I think just
no sharp corners.
Yeah. We should see who are the tougher kids by just embedding trampolines in concrete and just letting them bounce around and, see what happens.
Yeah. Only the strong survive.
Resiliency.
Charles Darwin,
You want America to be great again?
Let's go.
Concrete and trampolines.
Make it happen. Mark is up now. Oh, Mark, hold on a second. Mac Morey is waving at me, telling me that it's time to do the news, and it is. But we'll get to Mark and Steve and David and Kelly, who is a guy, I'm told. How do you know, Bell? Did they tell you that?
I make assumptions every day.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
2023. I don't know if you can do that anymore.
Well, whatever. Kelly, just note on line 4, that was Bell K doing that, not me. And Bell is a guy's name, I believe. Here's a...
It's a metal ringing object.
I don't know why I'm in it. Just do the news.
This sucked and you failed.
.231, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories right now. 48 degrees, a sunny day in Music City. Starting with the Israel-Hamas war, Israel's military today pushed deeper into a key city in southern Gaza. Anastay Lacatera in Tel Aviv with more.
The IDF very much pressing on in southern Gaza. We understand they are now in the heart of Khan Yunis. They say that Hamas militants in Khan Yunis were instrumental in terms of planning out the October 7th terror attacks. Khan Yunis is especially important because it is the hometown of 2 of Hamas's top leaders. The IDF won't say whether they believe those 2 leaders to actually be in Khan Yunis, but there were reports earlier today that they had encircled the home of Yahya Sinwar, who is the top Hamas leader there in Gaza.
And there's also an aid update. National Security Council official John Kirby today said that the Pentagon has airlifted more aid for Gaza through Egypt despite stalled international hostage negotiations with Hamas. Right now, here back in Tennessee, the one identified Memphis officer that was fired in the Tyree Nichols case has now been named. Adrian Blake's body cam footage that day shows other officers kicking Nichols on the ground. He denied ever seeing that. He started on the force. 2019 records show that he was terminated in February. Nichols died 3 days after being beaten by officers following a traffic stop in January. In the nation's capital, former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy announcing he will resign his seat from the House of Representatives effective at the end of the year. Here's Mary Alice Parks.
When Americans are facing so many big questions on the economy, on the border, on whether there should be this additional funding for Ukraine and Israel, we know that it's just going to get that much harder for Republicans to pass anything strictly along party lines. I mean, they're only going to have a 2 or 3 vote majority there. So in that way, yes, absolutely surprising, because it's just going to make things a lot harder for Republicans to do things with only Republican votes.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. You know, I told you about the glitter syrup at Savory Spice the other day. That got a big response from those of you in the listening audience, as it should. They have smaller bottles of it where you can stick it in people's stockings for a little stocking stuffer concept. And they have larger bottles for the whole family. Yes, that's right. Glitter syrup for your waffle or pancake needs, only at Savory Spice. They also have sprinkle for popcorn and other items that you're going to utilize over the holidays. And, you know, if you're baking, if you're doing some cookie baking or whatever, they got sprinkles to go on top of there. They've got various sugars and whatnot. And, of course, they've got the savories. They've got the salts. They've got the spices that you need for your cooking over the holiday season. If you're not doing holidays at Savory Spice, may I be very humble when I say you're not doing it right. Savory Spice. If you want to up your food game, you up your food game by upping your spice game. You up your spice game at Savory Spice. 2 locations to serve you. Just go in and see. You don't have to be an experienced chef or cook. You can be a novice, and they will lead you. They will feed you baby birds. Go and see them. L&L Market on Charlotte Pike, over in Franklin, just off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy. Tell Holly and David Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Savory Spice. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. The Tennessee Men's Clinic has 2 locations to serve you. And while I understand that your life is a busy, busy time during the holidays, and Tennessee Men's Clinic understands that as well, and by the way, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays from all the gang at Tennessee Men's Clinic, they also understand that it could be a time where your energy level identifies itself. Here's what I mean. If you felt mildly sluggish or run down and you just attribute it to, getting to a certain age or whatever you think it might be, lack of sleep, it could be something more dastardly. It could be a loss of T level in your body, but it also could be something that could be easily remedied with diagnosis through the Tennessee Men's Clinic. And when I mean that the holidays, or when I say that the holidays kind of identify that, is that you've got a lot going on. And if you're feeling yourself run down in the afternoons or you want to take a nap or whatever, make an appointment. Just do this. It doesn't take all day. It will take a little portion of your afternoon to get over there at Tennessee Men's Clinic, get diagnosed, let them take a little blood work, check out that blood work and see what's going on, and get you ready for success over the holiday season through the Tennessee Men's Clinic. They can get you back to energy levels that you haven't had in years. Go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com to find out more, TennesseeMen'sClinic.com, or better yet, give them a call and schedule that appointment today. 615-208-9090, 208-9090. Man, a lot of response. You're fun. I know you're right. You're right. I've got to get to calls. Cameron Smith was like, "Hey, you need to get to calls," and I'm like, "Man, Cameron is helping me out with this. Thank you, Cameron. I will get to your calls.
Because I love you, man.
I appreciate that. We're getting to them, but a lot of response from our conversation about trampolines, and this is my favorite. The Sound of a human being hitting concrete is unforgettable. No other sound like it in the world. And I would agree with that. There's also a breaking news story regarding police responding to. Mac, have you talked about this in the news cycle? I'm sorry.
It broke while I was on the air. I was actually going to bust in here, but you've got it.
Yeah. If you've got it, you can go ahead and take it. What do we got? There's something about an active shooter, possibly?
Yeah, a massive police response is the quote that I constantly keep seeing, and this is at UNLV on the campus near their business building, and there appears to be multiple victims right now.
All right, so what I've got on my side of the glass, police officers responding to a confirmed active shooters in quotes, at a building at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas campus. The university wrote on Platform X, "This is not a test. Run, hide, fight." The Las Vegas police are saying in a separate post that there appears to be, as Mac Morey just mentioned, multiple victims. The university said the shooter was at Beam Hall, Frank and Estella building, home of UNLV's Lee Business School. The police were responding to an additional report of shots fired at the nearby student union. Shooting is obviously currently under investigation and potentially currently an active scene. So, Mac, if you see anything that needs to be reported at any moment, just jump in there. You know what to do. 241, Cameron Smith is with us, and your call's coming up with Mark first up from the borough. Mark, thank you for your call. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for your patience.
Oh, absolutely. A couple of points. I think it's interesting that Gavin Newsom hasn't even really declared for presidency yet, but he had the debate with DeSantis. And I think the fact that all the Democrats just want is a guy that looks good and talks good, like Obama. He can, none of it can be true, but as long as he, like I said, looks good and talks good, and, he can pull the wool over everybody's eyes, that's fine.
When the facts aren't on your side, that's kind of what you got to do.
No, absolutely. Absolutely it is. And I also think that with the article that you guys were talking about earlier, I think that they're pointing the fingers at Trump for all the things that they have done and they're going to do. So, if you're guilty, you point the finger to somebody else so it takes all the heat off you.
What is the psychological term for it where you reflect, what your desires are, you reflect that in your political enemies. Projection. That's what I'm thinking of. I think there may be some projection going on. But when you have, I was quoting this article from Salon because it was so over the top, and it's just an example of a lot of them saying that Donald Trump's goal is to end American democracy and replace it with a fascist system. Okay.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
One, I don't even think Donald Trump has coherent goals like that.
I don't either.
He just...
You know what Donald Trump wants? And this is to our benefit as Americans. He wants us to look at him and say, thank you.
Yeah.
You're awesome. You're the best. We love you. And the manner in which he wants to achieve that involves things that will be ultimately good for the American people.
Well, the one thing that we still we haven't shaken is this idea that the status quo is inherently a good thing. Like that the bureaucratic state, and I'm not one of these conspiracy guys, but I've seen people in Washington that are in jobs, they don't even know what they do. And it's tragic. And so upending that, I've long supported that. I think that Trump doing that makes sense, but then there's a follow-on at some point that has to happen of, okay, well, we disrupted the status quo. Now what? And the now what is I just don't think what we have a plan for.
The bureaucracy, as it is called, is an entity unto itself.
It is.
And it doesn't, and you lived there.
Oh, yeah.
You were a part of it in as much as you observed that it's not so much that they give a rip about Democrat or Republican. They lean Democrat because Democrat embraces the growth of the bureaucracy more so than the Republicans. But there are plenty of Republicans that like it too.
Well, it's the belief that government will solve the problem. And there's the folks in jobs that are insulated from any economic risk, right? It's just the government's just there. And as long as we keep funding it, which is what we do, it'll be fine.
Who was it? Was it the Secretary of Education I forget, it was a cabinet member that the other day quoted Reagan and said, oh, well, it's like, even Ronald Reagan said, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Hey,
those are the most dangerous words in the English language.
I think you didn't get the front end of the quote. I think. All right, so we're watching these reports. I'm going to keep reiterating this until the end of the show. We don't have a lot longer, but it's a very serious situation. Breaking news out of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. A suspect is dead. That is being reported by CNN. That police are saying the suspect in the UNLV shooting is dead after the shooting. No word on whether anyone else has been killed as a result of this situation. We'll keep you up to date on it as circumstances warrant and as information becomes available. Steve is in the borough next. Hey, Steve, how are you?
Hey, I've watched Bill Maher for a long, long time, and he's a funny guy to watch because, he was one of the most avid Trump haters in the beginning. And he used to always say, we're never going to get Trump out of office. Trump will never leave office. This is the last election we've ever had. And already today, just listen to you guys, a word has come up twice that I think that we need to take the mantle to fight against, and that's the word democracy. When someone says, oh, it's going to be the end of our democracy, that ought to be like a key trigger for any patriot to stop in your tracks and say, wait a minute, we're not a democracy. And that's part of the veil that people try to put out there to deceive people. Like, if you tell them pure democracy is three wolves and a sheep sitting down at the dinner table deciding what's for dinner.
I don't want to rush you here, Steve. I want to give you the respect you deserve. But here's what I would say, and I've always said. That we are a constitutional republic, also known as a representative republic, which is a form of democracy. There are two forms of democracy, basic forms of democracy. There's direct democracy, which is what you're talking about, the two wolves and the sheep, and indirect democracy. There's really no functional form of direct democracy in the world today, but there are plenty of versions of indirect democracy. A constitutional monarchy is another form of an indirect democracy. So I understand how political leftists are using the language to their own advantage, but the language means something. So I don't get a lot of heartburn when people use the word democracy when they're referring to a constitutional republic. They're just not being as specific as they should.
Right, but it's just a technique that you can, in that argument when you're talking to someone, one of the techniques is to get people off balance. And when you stop and correct them on that, because the next step in that is, we talk about the electoral college.
Well, when you say, hold on, Steve, let me correct you. If you are correcting people by saying that our form of government is not a democracy, you're wrong.
I can see to your point. I see what you're saying.
I mean, but what you want to do though, and here's where I'll pull you back in here, Steve, and give you a big radio hug. So what you want to do is say, well, what kind of democracy are we? And see what they say then. Because that'll stop them in their tracks too.
Absolutely. And then when you get people arguing about the electoral college and they don't understand how it works, in its purest form, the electoral college was supposed to be one electoral vote per congressional district. It's when the state started doing winner takes all, that's when it started corrupting the electoral college. For instance, California has 55 electoral college votes. So even in the 2016 or 2020 election, if Donald Trump had gotten 25 of those districts and the other candidate got the other 30, guess what? All 55 go for the other candidate. Yeah. And that's where I think the true disenfranchisement happens, when people say, oh, the electoral college is disenfranchising for voters. Like, no, actually it wouldn't be if we went through and did, one electoral college vote per congressional district. That's actually the closest thing to a popular vote that you can get, because it's still, putting out 435 of the votes for electoral college, but it's evenly divided within each state as well, and not just, the state of California, 55 electoral college
Steve,
votes.
I would love when we have a little more time to dive a little deeper into electoral college politics. I would love to do that. But here, if you're talking to someone on the left, and if they bring up the electoral college, this is how you respond. This will get them off their game too. You ready, Steve?
Yeah, I'm absolutely.
You say, I graduated from the Electoral College in 1998, so don't talk to me about it, and see what they say. They'll look at you funny. They're like, what?
If someone from the left brings up the Electoral College, you should be, while you're explaining to me, will you pay for my beer?
Or better yet, as they're talking, just walk away.
Yeah.
Just turn around and leave.
Like, at some point, we've got to realize that, like, people who bring these very specific technical arguments to the table aren't interested in hearing the other side.
Nope.
And so you should just be like, so is there anything I could say that would convince you that you're not right? And then start there.
I have to go, and I'm sorry for David and for Kelly. I know you both waited, and Kelly is a dude, I'm told, by Bell, and I wanted to find out for myself if we needed to file some form of HR report against Bell K for misgendering Kelly. But we're not going to find out. It will remain a mystery at least until tomorrow on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Back in a moment. Super Talk 99.7 WTN monitoring that very serious situation out in Las Vegas at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, involving an active shooter that we're now being told is deceased. Police on the scene have said that, and I know Brian Wilson has got eyeballs and ears on it as well, and he joins us in advance of his show to talk to us about what's going on. Brian, you looking at this thing out of Las Vegas?
Yeah, watching it very closely, and we do know that apparently the shooter is deceased. We don't know how that occurred, whether at his own hands or with the assistance of police, who were pretty quick on the scene, it sounds like. What we do not know is how many casualties there might be. And they have not released any number on that. And so we'll watch it very closely across the afternoon to find out more, expecting a Las Vegas Police Department briefing at some point.
Well, very serious situation going on in Las Vegas. In the not-so-serious portion of the news, it's my understanding that yesterday afternoon there was a significant uptick in bike thefts in and around Nissan Stadium. I don't know if you heard that information.
I heard that there was a miscreant out there. Causing trouble.
That was fun. What else is going on the drive?
Well, Megan Barry, former mayor, cemetery aficionado, announces she's running for Congress. We'll, of course, delve into that.
We have a race on our hands.
That's right. And there's an epic Washington showdown. It's Ukraine versus the border. And how is that going to be resolved? McCarthy leaves as Speaker at the end of the month, and the GOP majority in the House gets really, really razor thin. We'll get into all of that coming up in the next 4 hours of the drive.
Brian Wilson in the drive coming up in mere seconds, right after Mac Maury's newscast, and that's coming up right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you, Cameron Smith. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Bell K. Mac's got the news, and we'll be back tomorrow, high noon. Until then, have a wonderful afternoon, folks. Hug your loved ones. So long.